What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. My channel name is College Football Frenzy, back here with another video, and today I'm going to be breaking down the top 10 matchups of Week 7 of the 2020 college football season. Week 7 consists of a lot of good matchups, including some trophy and rivalry games. It's going to be a pretty jam-packed week, a lot of exciting games overall. Kind of like Week 6, it doesn't have too many huge games, not like an LSU, Alabama, or Notre Dame, Clemson, or Ohio State, Oregon type game, but it does have some pretty good games overall that will be ranked matchups and should be pretty interesting to watch. So I'm excited to do this week for Week 7. Almost every matchup is an in-conference matchup, so if they do postpone the college football season or, make it shorter, these matchups should still happen. But without further ado, let's get right into it, not waste any of your time. Number 10, Ohio State versus Michigan State. So I put this one on here. I understand Ohio State, clearly the superior team. They've got a better head coach, in my opinion. Ryan Day's great. Mel Tucker, it's going to be his first year in Michigan State. Going to be tough. Clearly more talented, better returning production, better recruiting class. So overall, besides being at home for Michigan State, everything favors Ohio State. That being said, we've seen Michigan State beat Ohio State in the past. They've played competitive against the Buckeyes, so I'm not going to rule this game out yet as being a trap game for Ohio State. So Michigan State could make it close. That being said, Michigan State starts off with a pretty tough schedule. They're probably going to be a little bit banged up by this game. Ohio State, they play Iowa the week before at home, but they have a couple of easy games before that. So Ohio State's probably going to be coming into this game a little bit more healthier, and obviously they're the better team. So I would definitely favor Ohio State. But Michigan State's been giving Ohio State problems in some years, so I'm not going to rule it out yet. 9, Notre Dame versus Pitt. Rivalry matchup here. It's not a very intense rivalry, but it is a rivalry. At Pitt for Notre Dame, not going to be the easiest of games. I think Pitt's an average ACC team. I think they're probably like an 8-4 team maybe for this upcoming season in the Coastal Division, maybe something like that. So they're definitely going to be competitive at home. They've upset a lot of good teams at home. They've been able to do it. A few years ago, they beat Miami. They beat Clemson a few years ago as well. So they can definitely upset some good teams. For this upcoming season, I think Notre Dame, clearly talent-wise, Iron Book's returning. They should be the better football team overall. But Pitt definitely can give them a challenge. If I'm not mistaken, 2 years ago, when Notre Dame made the playoff, I believe Pitt only lost by a few points to the Fighting Irish and made it close. So Pitt can definitely give Notre Dame some trouble. So I expect it to be a pretty good matchup overall. 8, we have Washington versus Utah. Big Pac-12 matchup here. I think Utah is definitely not going to be as good as they were last year, but still it's going to be a home game. Washington losing Hall of Fame coach Chris Peterson and losing, obviously, Jacob Eason, the quarterback. So it's going to be a little bit different for both these teams this upcoming season. But this should be a good matchup. Two teams that definitely are going to be on the cusp of being in the rankings and competitive in the Pac-12. So I have this as the 8 matchup. It should be an interesting one. 7, Mississippi State versus Alabama. Now, Alabama fans, don't freak out. Don't go crazy. Don't start commenting. I definitely think Alabama at home clearly is, I think they'll win this one. But the reason it's on here is the coaching matchup. I'm very excited to see this. Nick Saban versus Mike Leach. The best coach in all of college football versus probably the most intriguing personality in all of college football. So, Alabama clearly the better team talent-wise. They've got the home crowd advantage, and they've got more experience. But hey, it's Mike Leach, so I had to put this one on here. So, could be intriguing. Iowa versus Penn State. A game here that I don't think, it has the potential to be good. The last few years, there's been some good match between these two teams, including that year Penn State scored a walk-off touchdown at Kinnick Stadium. Last year, it was a 5-point game. So they've played a couple close matchups against each other. For this upcoming season, Iowa's definitely losing a lot. I think they're probably like a 7-5 or 8-4 team. Penn State's going to be gaining a lot back, and it's at home. That being said, these two lately have played each other pretty close. They both got great defenses. So, Iowa can definitely compete with Penn State. So right now I have this where it is. But again, you could argue that it shouldn't be on this list. I wouldn't be shocked. Florida versus Ole Miss. Big SEC matchup. Lane Kiffin, another tough game. He has a lot of tough games early on this season. I mean, they're gonna play like Auburn, LSU, Alabama in a back-to-back game stretch, and then you got to play Florida. So they have a tough schedule. So they're going to probably be a little bit worn out coming into this game. At home versus Florida, definitely a game where they can maybe surprise Florida. Florida might not be expecting it because they just played LSU the week before. But I definitely think overall Florida is probably the better team talent-wise. But at home for Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, better coach. I definitely think he can make it competitive. But we'll see how it goes. But, Lane Kiffin's a step up from what they had last year, Ole Miss. So we'll see how it goes. UCF versus Memphis. Highly ranked group of 5 matchup I have here. I thought about putting it lower, but we've got to recognize that these two teams have been dominant teams in the group of 5 the last couple of years. Both two teams actually are the last two teams to represent the group of 5 in year 6 bowls. UCF did in 2017, 2018, and Memphis did this past season, 2019. So pretty good football teams here. Memphis is losing some key pieces, especially head coach Mike Norvell. UCF lost some key pieces after the 2008 season, so they're a little 18 season, so they were a little bit rusty going into 2019. But for this upcoming year, I think both teams should be pretty equal skill-wise. I think it's going to be a very good game. One of the better games in the American Athletic. This should be an interesting one in my opinion. It's definitely a group of 5 game that I would watch. So I'm excited for this one. I have it pretty highly ranked. And both these teams very well can be coming into the top 25 going into this game. Oklahoma and Iowa State. This was a great matchup last year in Norman. Not many people were expecting it to be very close, I feel like. Iowa State, a few weeks they're on the cusp of being in the top 25. Some weeks they were, but they weren't a team that people were expecting to really beat Oklahoma. They played very well against Oklahoma. They were down late, they came back, and they only lost by 1. They were just a 2-point conversion short. They went for it, and they did not get it. If they had gotten it, they probably would have won the game. So nearly beat Oklahoma, nearly got the upset bid, but could not do it. For this upcoming season, Iowa State's returning a pretty good amount. Home game for them against Oklahoma. Oklahoma is going to be losing Jalen Hurts and CeeDee Lamb, but overall, they should still be a pretty talented football team with Spencer Rattler leading the way this time. So I think it's going to be a very good matchup, an exciting Big 12 matchup. Iowa State's definitely a team that could compete in the Big 12. Definitely a team I wouldn't be shocked if they were to make the Big 12 championship game. So I expect a pretty good matchup between these two teams. It's very important. Number 2, we have Texas A&M and Auburn. So this matchup last year, Auburn won by, I believe, double digits at Texas A&M. It was a pretty good game early on. It was pretty close early on. Then it kind of, got a little bit farther stretched late in the game. Auburn pulled away a little bit. For this upcoming season, I think both teams have pretty good returning production. Both have top 10 recruiting classes, so recruiting's good, returning production's good, all that stuff, great. So pretty good, talented teams. It's going to be Jimbo Fisher versus Gus Malzahn. Obviously, these two head coaches have a little bit of a history with each other now. Jimbo Fisher, Gus Malzahn obviously coached against each other in the 2013, I believe it was, national championship game. So for this upcoming season, I think both teams are actually on a pretty even level. I think both teams are 9-3 or better teams for this upcoming season. So I expect a pretty good matchup overall. I definitely favor Auburn. They beat them last year, and on top of that, they're playing at home in Jordan Hare, not easy place to play. But it should be a good matchup, definitely. And number 1, Minnesota versus Michigan, a Big Ten matchup here. Michigan has a lot of tough games early on. So does Minnesota, and this will be no different. It's a Big Ten matchup. Battle for the Little Brown Jug, I believe it is. Michigan has dominated the rivalry, but for this upcoming season, Minnesota, they're returning a lot. They're definitely returning a lot, including Tanner Morgan, Rashad Bateman. PJ Fleck is back at head coach, so they're going to be a pretty good football team overall. Michigan, decent returning production. Not I think fantastic, but it's decent. And, despite finishing 9-4 last year, they were still pretty talented. So I definitely feel like Michigan can compete with Minnesota, and I think it's going to be a very good game overall. It's a really top 20 matchup. I expect probably Minnesota to be a little bit higher ranked coming into this game, but it's going to be good in the big house. So it should be a very good one overall. Or actually, I think I mixed it up. Minnesota's hosting this game. Yeah, I believe Minnesota's hosting this game. I made a mistake there. But it should be a good matchup regardless. I'm excited for this one. Definitely a game in which Michigan has to watch out. They may very well be coming into this game undefeated. So it's a big matchup. But yeah, that rounds up my top 10. That's it for now, guys. Thanks for joining in. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Check out my other videos. And yeah, guys, that's it for now.